ready?
Ready?
Let's begin.
Okay.
This is going to be fun.
Okay.
Okay, so as introduction, again, my name is Ron Bohan.
Ron.
I'm a volunteer here at the Morton Museum, and today we're with Chester Webb and Artie Jean.
Artie Jean.
You go by Artie Jean?
Yes.
Artie Jean Webb?
Sometimes they put Artie, but most people had the Jean.
Okay. And so today is Monday, today is
Tuesday.
Wednesday, December 3rd, 2014. And in the room with us we have Sherry Kimmery filming.
All
right.
Met her.
All right, so let's start talking about this. So
All right.
I read up a little bit about you and your history, and so can you tell me when did you first go into the service and how did that come about?
Oh, no sooner than I got out of high school, I went, volunteered for the Army.
Had the draft started yet?
Yeah, yeah.
But you had.
I got ahead of that.
You did.
I didn't want to be drafted.
Tell them where you went to high school and where you grew up on Massey Road.
Yeah, I grew up right here in Collierville.
No, Massey Road.
Been here all my life.
Right. And I hear you were on a dairy farm as a young man.
Oh, yeah.
Farm and dairy,
Right.
and I don't recommend that.
No. Is the Army better than dairy farming?
Yeah, I think it
Oh,
was.
yeah.
Yeah, really. And
So, Mr. Webb, I'm curious. So you volunteered and you chose the Army.
I did.
So why did you choose the Army?
Well, really, I didn't know exactly which one I should go in, and different things came up for the Army, so I chose to go in the Army.
Well, good for you. That's
And,
great.
Sure did.
And what year was that, sir?
Oh gosh, wait a minute now.
41.
41, wasn't
He
it?
just graduated from
Yeah,
Germantown
40.
High School.
I just graduated from
Mhm.
high school, and it appeared that was the thing for me to do.
Right.
Go in the Army.
Well, good.
It sounds kind of bad, me trying to be brave about this thing, you know, but it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, because where did they send you?
well,
He had never been much further than Roger Springs in Germantown.
So where did you go to your training?
Fort Oglethorpe,
No.
Georgia.
Yeah,
Right.
but they sent you to Boca Raton.
Oh yeah, that was part of it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Boca Raton, Florida.
Right.
Okay.
So let me ask you, what did your family think about you volunteering for the Army?
They thought it was great.
They were
Things
supportive.
was kind of bad, you know, and didn't look too good, and they thought I made the right choice, and I think I did too.
Good for you.
Yeah.
And so you ended up at the 82nd Airborne.
82nd Airborne.
Paratrooper,
Yeah, paratrooper.
right?
Made quite a few jumps, and
So tell me about your first jump. What did you feel about it? Do you remember your first jump?
I never will forget it.
Yeah.
Just to be honest about it, I was a little bit uneasy.
I bet you were.
You know, not knowing what was coming up, and I made it fine.
Yes.
I enjoyed it, and did things that I had never done before, and never will again, and I enjoyed it.
So kind of jumping ahead a little bit. Help me understand, because I see you're in the glider infantry,
Yeah,
but you're a paratrooper.
yeah.
And is that uncommon to be in a glider and a paratrooper?
No, you could do both.
You could do both.
Yeah, and in fact, I like doing both of them.
So you were originally a paratrooper,
Paratrooper
and did you volunteer?
to begin with, and then eased into the rest of it.
Interesting. So let me see here. So you went to training. You're a paratrooper, and now it's World War II is underway, and So you have to go overseas.
I went overseas.
So what was your mode of transport? Were you on a carrier? A ship?
We flew over, and
No, go back to New York. You flew rode trains. Y'all rode trains. You didn't fly much.
yeah,
To the Queen Mary,
yeah,
New York.
yeah.
And rode
That's
the Queen
true.
Mary over.
She knows more than I do.
Well, I've
You're
heard
doing
it,
great.
I've heard it. And then they went to Ireland.
Yeah,
And
So you
they-
rode the Queen Mary over.
yeah, yeah.
I've heard a little bit about that on the Queen Mary.
It's,
And
it's a
back
good,
to-
that's a good ride.
back
Was it a
to-
good ride?
Yeah.
Was it crowded?
Pretty well crowded, yeah.
And pretty
You know,
sick. Farm boy on that ship.
Everything was going on at that time.
Right.
And,
Had you been on a ship before?
never.
No.
Never.
It
No,
hadn't been
just fishing
anyway.
boats and
Right.
stuff like that. First time I had ever thought about flying, you know,
Right.
and I enjoyed it.
So you landed in Ireland.
Yeah. Now I enjoyed that. I was in a country I'd never been in before, and in fact, I enjoyed the whole thing. I was an old farm boy and didn't know too much, you know, and I learned quite a bit.
Yeah.
He'd never seen the ocean. And can you believe ended up in Fort Lauderdale and Boca Raton, the most exclusive
Nice.
part of Florida. That's where
Yeah.
they sent him.
Yeah,
For your training.
yeah.
So,
yeah.
So I read up a little bit about the 82nd Airborne,
Uh-huh.
and so tell me about your first action.
Well,
Was it in Sicily, or was that part of it?
Well, he had to go through England and
I-
France.
I was the type of guy that wanted to get ahead, you know, and do things I'd heard about,
Mm-hmm.
but never had a chance to do any of it. And brother, I did, and I did enjoy it. I did a lot of things that wasn't real enjoyable, but I made it.
Good for you.
And,
That's really interesting.
Uh,
So
uh,
tell me about. Can you recall the first time you saw conflict, battle, action?
Well, I don't know about other people, but you get real nervous, you know. You wonder if you're doing the right thing or have I goofed up some way or another. And it turned out real good.
So were you involved in the Battle of Sicily?
Yeah.
And did you paratroop in,
I
or did you
did.
glide in?
No, we went in as a group. Flew in and dropped in.
And where did you drop into? Do you remember the town or the area?
Oh gosh, I didn't know it when I was in the thing. I didn't know where I was.
You didn't know where you were?
No.
They didn't know what country
No.
they were in. It was, pretty fast.
Yeah.
But he made
Yeah,
nine.
they
you made
moved
nine
us around
jumps,
pretty
didn't you?
fast, and at that particular time, and I was doing things I had never dreamed of, and
So when you dropped into Sicily, what was your armament? Did you have the M1?
oh yeah, M1 loaded with all kind of ammunition and devices to protect you, you know, as much as you could be.
Tell me more about that. What do you mean by that?
Well, they train you the way they want you to be, and it's entirely different to what you thought it was going to be. It was for me anyway. And
Tell me what you mean by that.
well, doing things that you had never dreamed of doing, such as bailing out of an airplane and parachuting into different places. And whoever thought I would be a paratrooper
Yeah.
jumping out of an airplane?
Did you jump in Sicily when you jumped in?
Yeah.
Was it day or was it night?
It was early in the morning.
Early in the morning?
Early, hoping wasn't too many people out, you know.
Were you taking
But they
fire
were.
as you were coming in? Or?
Yeah. The people they was waiting on us,
Yeah.
and it was a little bit rough, but thank God I made it.
So that first day when you
Yeah.
dropped in, now you're in battle for all day long, and the night, and
No sooner than you could get your things together and get your ammunition and weapons and all that stuff, and you're in it.
yeah. And do you remember that first night? What was that first night like? You know, the days
It
now
wasn't
gone.
nothing ever like it. I never dreamed. I was old farm boy, and I never dreamed of such a thing, you know. But I got in it and made it.
Did you get any sleep that first night, or was it?
It wasn't much sleep going on.
No?
No. But we made it. I wasn't the only one there. We had a army right there.
Right.
And I tried to be part of it. And being a small fella and all that stuff, I had it in here, but
Right.
you know,
That's where it counts.
that's what counts.
It is what counts.
And you better have it there. You're gonna mess up. And thank God I had it.
Yeah. Wow, fascinating.
I did things I never dreamed of doing. A old farm boy, you know.
Sure.
And
So tell me about something. So when you mention that you do things that you've never dreamt of, what's the top thing that comes to mind? That the thing you did that you were
Well,
totally never thought you would have.
of course, you know, you're trained just like that. You're hard as a rock, you know. And part of your brain is too, I think. But you do things you never heard of before, and things you'd never do again. And it's a little bit rough.
Yeah. So tell me about kind of your friends that were in the service with you.
You made good friends,
Mhm.
and you know, you knew people that you could trust your life with.
Do you
and all that
remember
kind of-
one particular person that kind of stands out in your mind? As
Oh, the names got away
Eddie,
from me,
Eddie Spencer.
but I enjoyed meeting the guys. And we had them from everywhere, you know.
Yeah.
Up north, down south, middle of the country. We had them from everywhere, and made good friends. You better make good friends.
Yes.
And
Now, did you have occasion to kind of stay in touch with any of the guys after you got out of the service?
I did, didn't I?
They all
And,
come.
right now, I can't think of who it was.
Sure.
but,
It's a long time ago.
yeah, I stayed in touch with them.
Yeah.
For a
And
long time. That we don't even know now.
it seemed like they was glad to see me, you know, and proud to see me.
Sure.
They didn't know but what I didn't make it, you know. But thank God I made it. And,
So let me ask you a sad question. Did you lose some of your good friends in battle? And what was that like? I can't imagine that.
Normally, you was meeting new people all the time. You didn't get real close to anybody.
Is that
once-
because you were afraid you would lose them? And
different things run through your mind, you know. It's kind of hard to explain, but I was doing things I never dreamed
right,
of.
right.
And the old farm boy, you know. and,
Sure.
I was enjoying it. Saying that strongly, I really was. I was enjoying it.
So tell me a little bit more about the mundane day-to-day things. Like, so what was the food like? What did you eat when you were in the field?
The food was kind of rough. Normal food, you know, like you get anywhere, but it was all right. It was good.
They kept you fed
food.
well
Oh
enough?
yeah, we had good cooks, and it was a good group to be around, and I never will forget them.
So So now we've talked about you paratrooping into someplace. Now, the 82nd Airborne was all over the
Right.
battlefield.
Right.
I understand they were part of D-Day.
Yeah.
And were you part of the glider infantry at that point? Did you Did you land in Normandy area
Yeah.
in a glider, or did you paratroop in?
Paratroop. I was paratroop all the way.
Oh, I see. Did you ever land in a glider?
Never did.
Never did.
Never did.
Okay, so you're part of the glider infantry, but you didn't land in a glider.
No.
I bet you were happy about that.
I was, boy, I tell you.
I don't think I want to land in a glider. More like a crash landing than anything else.
You feel like you've accomplished something when you do that, and really you hadn't, but
Yeah. So
it kind of gets to you right there.
so you were part of the D-Day invasion.
Yes.
So tell me about that. That's fascinating.
Well, it's needles and pins all the way, you know. You wondering, well, what's going to be next, you know, and what's going to happen now. And luckily we had men in charge of us that knew what was going to happen and knew what to do with us and did it.
So I hear that the paratroopers, there was a little mix-up, and most of the paratroopers didn't land where they were supposed to. Did that happen to you?
No, I landed right where they planned for me to go, but some of them didn't.
Now, do you recall where you landed? Was it Mayor St. Glees, or I'm not saying that right?
Oh,
I'm sure.
right offhand, it slips my mind.
They didn't know where they were most of the time.
A lot of times we didn't know where we were.
Now, do you recall what day you landed? Was it the 7th or the
Lost all that.
You lost all that?
Yeah.
I lose everything from last week.
Lost
I'm with
all
you.
that.
Talking about the food rations. You see that little girl?
Oh.
They kept her alive.
And who is that?
A little
Yep.
German girl.
Is that you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Let me put on my glasses.
And they fed her. They shared their rations.
You're a good-looking young man there.
Dang. I didn't feel that way, but
I'm just showing the camera real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do look hard as nails there. Were you? I bet you were in really good shape then.
I was
huh?
in perfect shape.
He was. He played football and boxing, golden gloves.
I did a little all of it.
Yeah.
I did box.
But, you know,
That's
we've
what that
often,
farm raised does for you,
That's
right?
right.
I guarantee you, boy.
we've often wondered about that little girl.
And
bet.
it paid off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
farm
tell me
dog.
about-
I was happy at that time right there.
I bet. You're still in great shape.
Thanks.
I love seeing you in your uniform. Walking around. And we got a little bit of background noise here. We'll
That's
wait
all
till the
right.
blower goes by.
It takes all of it.
Sorry, we'll take a little sip of water here.
Okay.
That's what Germany looked like.
What is that, man?
That's pictures of Germany. In the background, you and buildings.
Yeah, tore all the pieces.
That's what it looked
put my
like.
glasses on.
Tore all the pieces. It wasn't a single building left there.
I just brought a few things.
Wow.
We've got
I tell you,
rolls of things.
I think we can go ahead and continue that background a little bit, but I think what we would like to do is maybe take a picture of this so we could be part of the
Okay.
video, so that the
Okay.
people who
Okay.
watch this
All
eventually
right.
can
And I
enjoy
didn't
those.
know what you kept talking about a unit, and he couldn't remember. Did you look through those, didn't you?
I'll look through those a little bit later.
Okay.
I really want to hear more about your D-Day escapades, and so you
it was-
paratrooped in. So
It was
can you tell me more about? Do you remember specific battles or specific actions that happened in that critical period?
It was all so confusing. Your mind really gets messed up.
In what way, sir?
Well, you get to hear different stories from the men that's been there a while.
Like what would you hear?
All kind of different things that you didn't want to repeat.
Yeah, the horrors of war, kind of the bad stories
yeah,
of war.
And things that happened that really shouldn't have happened, but it did.
The fog of war.
Yeah,
Things happen.
That's right. And
I think
Thank-
the worst experience he's told me,
If you could lift your voice a little bit so we can hear you.
when they, most of the war after that, Normandy, after that cleared out, it was really slowing down. But they used the ones that were over there to go into Dachau. That's he was one of the first ones to go in to help liberate
sure was.
those concentration camps, and
Right.
I think that's
wo-
the worst experience he ever
I'm
had.
so glad you mentioned Dachau, and that was part of Auschwitz, Dachau, right?
Yeah, all
Oh.
those concentration camps.
And so you were
gotta-
part of the liberating force that went in there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they-
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would love to hear about that.
Some of the first ones that went in.
I wish I had things written down like they happened, but I didn't have time to do all that
Of course
kind of
not.
stuff.
So what were your emotions when you saw all those poor souls there?
Well, you really think, well, Lord, what am I doing here? And you finally get used to it, and you just go ahead with your daily things and
Things they told you.
whatever you're required to do, well, you do them. You better do them.
Like what? What were you be required to do?
Being in the right place at the
Uh-huh.
right time.
Right.
You could mess up bad by not being there, and sometimes you could mess up by being there. So
So when you
Yeah.
liberated part of the force that liberated Dachau, were you were some of the first troops there to arrive? Or no?
undoubtedly I was on down the line a little ways.
Well, they were already
'Cause they
there.
was-
The camps were filled.
Oh, they had it all worked up,
Yeah.
We had men in charge of that thing that knew exactly what they needed to do
Mhm.
and did it.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to fit in there.
Right. Well, and I understand that the 82nd and probably you were part of the Battle of the
80
Bulge.
Yeah.
Did you fight in the Battle of the Bulge?
Yes.
And do you remember what that was like? And what did you?
Well, it's something you don't really want to dwell on, but you get used to all that kind of stuff.
Now we're at the time. The Battle of the Bulge. Hitler. I understand that they were really doing, really moving fast. And were you guys worried about losing that part of the battle?
We had to. We moved where we were supposed to.
Yeah.
We had men there that had that thing worked out, and you'd be here today and here tomorrow, and different things, And we had men that took care of us.
Right.
Thank God.
So your story is so fascinating because all of the some of the very key events, Sicily, D-Day, Battle of the Bulge,
Yeah.
the concentration camps. You were in the thick of all of that.
I was in part of all of that, yeah.
So
Sure.
what I'm curious, if you were talking to your family and you were wanting to kind of tell them a war story that sticks out most in your mind, does something come to mind like a particular war story event that really sticks out for you?
Well, we had men there that took care of us and would keep us out of real hot places as long as they could, and then we'd move out and move to.
Tell me what that means. I'm not sure I follow. So they took care of you in what sense? And
They saw that we had our ammunition, was dressed properly, and all of our gear was right at our fingertips,
mm-hmm.
and
So you're talking about the supply line.
yes, supplies and of course our ammunition and
It's hard to fight if you don't have ammunition, right?
yeah, that's right. you better have it.
Did you ever?
But-
Was there ever a time that you ran out of ammunition or thought you were going to run out of ammunition?
We were lucky enough to have men that was in charge of that and was right head on it, boy.
Yeah, they took care of you.
Knew exactly what to do, and they'd tell us, now, this is where you're going, you know, and all that kind of stuff.
Right. So as a paratrooper jumping into battle, how many times do you think you actually jumped into battle?
Oh,
He's told us nine times.
I think it was around 9 times. You kind of lose all
Sure.
It's
that
been
stuff,
a
you know.
long time.
Of course.
Uh,
Right. Now, did you ever?
but they didn't get any better.
No.
Somehow or another, most of us managed to stay out of the real hot spots and work around it.
In the fog of war, sometimes friendly fire kind of rained down.
Yeah.
Did you ever experience friendly fire?
At times it seemed like it was.
Yeah.
But we tried to think, no, it can't be, you
Yeah.
know. But it's something else.
Yeah, I bet. And at night, at most nights, how would you sleep? I mean, did you dig a foxhole or?
You had men, you had guards that was on duty, you
Right.
know.
Around the perimeter?
Yeah, all around, to see that nothing happened to you and you wasn't shot up and all that kind of
So
stuff.
did you have to dig a foxhole most nights?
At times we have. We tried not to do that too much, but we moved. We moved quite a bit and moved fast. And that way you didn't have time to worry about foxholes and different things, you know. We just did the best we could do
So you would sleep on the open ground at night?
at times.
At times? It's not like camping, is it?
Not like camping. But, you know, you got to make real close friends.
Sure.
I mean, tight. And we watched after each other as much as we could.
Hmm.
Thank goodness. And that made it a whole lot better.
So was there this thing about tight friends? I can relate to that because of my military experience.
Sure.
So did you have an occasion to save a friend's life, or maybe did a friend save your life at some point?
I'm sure you had that to happen, but at the particular time you didn't know you did it. So, yeah, we did that quite a bit. And thank goodness somebody was watching after me. And it's something you don't want to
Yeah.
get into.
So were you fortunate enough not to be wounded in
Yeah.
war?
No, nothing but my feelings and scared that I don't mind telling you I was scared to death.
Yes.
You know.
Well, you'd be silly not to be scared to death.
You better be scared or you wouldn't be here today.
That's right.
But it was kind of.
So how did you overcome your fear? I mean, I've seen some men are so frightened they're frozen. And how did you overcome your fear and still do your duty?
Just by being there and doing the things I was supposed to do and doing them right.
Yeah.
You know, you had somebody to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
You had certain things you did and certain things you didn't do. And you better know which one is
Yeah. And that comes back to the heart.
right
Yeah, that you mentioned earlier.
and up here.
And up here.
Yeah, you better use that. I've used that quite a few times and without putting anybody in danger, you know. But
So what was your highest, I'm changing gears a little bit, what was your highest rank?
rank,
Uh-huh.
I never went past private first class.
Yeah.
I really didn't want it.
Why is that?
Well, you get to do more things that's important to other people and I didn't want that responsibility.
Right. Right.
I thought more of my buddies in there. It's hard to tell a group, look, this is what we got to do. Load your guns. That's hard to do.
It is hard to do. Yeah.
You know, send a friend out in hot country.
Yeah. So it sounds like, from what you've said, you had really good leadership, though.
We did. Perfect.
And is there a particular in the Army? I'm sorry, I'm Navy. So what are they? An officer in the Army? Was there particular ones that stood out for you that were especially?
Well, you was close to them. I'll put it that way. You had to be close to them, and they'd send you out on a detail that you didn't really need to go on, you know, and but we made it fine.
So so now you've been in Sicily, you've been in the D-Day, you've been in the Battle of the Bulge, and you've helped liberate some of the camps and saw battle along the way. And so at this point, the war is kind of winding down a little bit.
It's easing down, it's easing down, and you can, you know, you feel it right there.
Well, they were training them to go to Japan.
Yes.
They were ready to go
So
when they dropped the bomb.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only reason they didn't go.
You get in places right quick that you don't want to be in, you know.
right.
And a lot of times you don't know exactly how to handle it.
So I want to ask you a couple questions about that period of time.
Okay.
So, where were you when the war in Germany and Italy? Where were you when that part of the war ended?
I was on the outskirts of Berlin.
Outskirts of Berlin,
Yeah.
right? So So the
Yeah,
Russians
and
now are in
picking
Berlin.
up pieces, and you know, and
What does picking up pieces mean?
well, your weapons and your ammunition and your different things, water, different things that you have to have,
Right.
and it wasn't easy to get all the time.
But you were still getting pockets of German resistance.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and
So how?
that was nervous, you know. It's nerve wracking.
Were you worried about German snipers a lot?
You was worried,
German snipers,
You
were
was
you-
worried about everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially snipers.
Right.
And we tried to be in places that we were supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And we had men over us that knew exactly how that thing was supposed to go.
Right.
And
So do you remember hearing about German surrender, and how'd you feel about that when you heard German surrender?
it just come to you in pieces, you know. And
Like the rumor mill, kind of.
Yeah, and you finally get it all together, you know.
And so, were you part of the occupying force in Germany after?
I was for a while.
And what did you do then?
Just normal things, and
Liberate
go out on details, and you'd have certain things to do, and you was always cleaning your weapons, you know.
So how did the German people treat you after the surrender? How did the civilians treat you?
They kind of stayed away from us as much as they could, and we did them. And we didn't make close friends, and you know, we wasn't there to make friends.
Right.
And
You did with the kids. You did with the kids.
Yeah.
The kids were crazy. And they were. The German people were tickled to death.
Oh, that hurt me worse than anything, you know, seeing the families all broken up, and part of them hurt bad, accidentally, you know. We tried not to get the children into it too much, but there's certain things you have to do, you know.
Right.
And
War is hell.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
It is.
Well, you know,
It
Hitler
is.
was, he was fighting with teenagers. Because I worked at the 4th Fair Command.
Yeah.
And they had the German kids they gave themselves as prisoners. And they worked out there in the lunchroom. And they were just 15, 16 years old. But boy, they surrendered and came to this country. Can you imagine, with all the food we had?
So, Miss Webb, let me ask you. So you were overseas in that
I
period?
wasn't overseas, but I lived through it.
She kept up with it
Oh,
by
I
me.
grew up
you know.
in it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it hurt us back here, too.
I bet.
We were rationed, and we still have ration cards.
You do.
Oh, yes, I do. Where we were allowed so much sugar that we could buy. And like I said, after I graduated from high school,
And she was grand through that thing.
through civil service, and 86, that was out on Airways, that
Mhm.
4th Fair Command. That was my first job. I joined civil service.
And what did you do for that job?
Well, when the pilots would come in,
Uh-huh.
and I knew to go through their folders and take out things they weren't going to need, and new information to go back in the folders. Yeah.
Wow,
Isn't
those
that
times is
something?
such amazing.
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
It is. And but we didn't know. We just got out of high school. I graduated at 17, and all the kids in the cafeteria were the young German boys, and they gave themselves up as prisoners. Hitler,
Oh, and so
Hitler was putting kids on the line.
Yes, that's right.
That's
Especially
right.
towards
he
the end.
ended
Yeah.
up with kids, and boy, they surrendered like crazy. Well, they got on the ship and came over here, and you know they had plenty of food, and we were kids, we were teenagers,
Right.
and they were young too, and we didn't know they couldn't understand us. My cousin and I went to work.